Welcome to the Box Gambling Show on the internet. This is the home of the money pick. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Week 4 over-unders to bet. And so far this year, knock on wood, we've been absolutely clobbering the totals. We've been immense with it. And this is an exclusive show. When I started betting football, I always felt like, okay, let's hit the totals. If it's a slow week, if we're not liking the spreads, let's hit the totals. And as the industry has proliferated, it seems like everyone has forgot about the totals. This is where you need to be on a Wednesday night. Slam that like button. Let's get to the first game. We got the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants. Over, under 45.5. I'm going over, but very little confidence. Very little confidence because firstly, when you talk about over and unders, I always look for, are we going to get two dance partners? And whenever Daniel Jones is involved in the football game, you just don't know if that offense is going to be an entity that functions. I don't know. They did not look all that great against the Browns, but that defensive line did. Now, this is where the questions come in. I think Dallas is going to respond. I think they're going to get aggressive on offense, play action, push the ball down the field. They certainly need to. But can the Dallas offensive line block that Giants front? That's why I'm not making a money pick. I'm going over. There is no science. I know it's a Thursday night game, but I'm not going to force bet the force bet. Next game, we got the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. Over, under 42.5. Money, money, money. Money under. Make it a damn money pick. Listen, over, under, bro. Sometimes I need your guys' feedback. Last week, I led off in reverse order because I had the over in the Jags Bills, and I just needed someone to push me over the edge for a money pick. Feel free to chime in the comment section, but I'm going under in this game. Division battle, man, and this Saints offense came back down to reality last week. We saw what happens when you're able to pressure Carr. Do the Atlanta Falcons have the best pass rush in the league? No, but I think they're sneaky good, and I think this Falcons defense is sneaky good. We've been saying it all year. And listen, I'm high on the Falcons. I'm bullish on the Falcons, but let's be honest. This offense is still a work in progress. It's not the finished article yet. And one thing about Dennis Allen, listen, man, I might have to eat crow about him, but he always sends his defenses out ready to play. I think this is going to be a grinder. You're going to have to sweat. I'm going under the 42.5, making a damn money pick. Next game, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Indianapolis Colts. Over, under 40. When you say Steelers, I say under. I'm going under. Last week, I should have made it a money pick. If I had one regret, it would have been that one, even though we had another good week. But I'm going to go under here. And when you think of game flow, a lot of people thought Fields stunk the first 2 weeks because they just didn't need to score touchdowns to win. It's more about how dominant the Steelers defense is, and I'm worried about Anthony Richardson. But I'm not attacking Anthony Richardson because I think he's a joker card, and he's the reason why I'm not making this a money pick. My issue is these receiving targets are terrible. And also, Anthony Richardson could have threw 4 or 5 interceptions against Chicago Bears without exaggeration. I am worried about this Colts offense. I am worried about them as a pass block unit. Now, I like the Colts offense in terms of running the ball, getting downhill. I just don't know if anyone's moving Cam Hayward this year. It's just that type of year for the Steelers defense. I'm not using hyperbole. I think this is the best Steelers defense we've seen in the Tomlin era. I'm going under the 40. Next game, we got the Jacksonville Jags at the Houston Texans. Over, under 45. I'm going over, but not a lot of science. And listen, I think both quarterbacks are due. Now, was Trevor Lawrence absolutely horrific on Monday night against the Bills? He was. Am I worried about Doug Peterson? Do I think he's on tilt? Absolutely, I think he's on tilt. But I'm more worried about this Jags defense. They can't cover anyone. They invest a lot of money in the pass rush, and they don't seem to be able to get a pass rush. And then we're looking at C.J. Stroud, and we're looking at a Texans offense that, for me, has been sleepwalking the first 3 weeks of the year. I just don't think that's going to continue. I'm going to preseason power rankings. I think this Texans team is a juggernaut on offense. I think they can get into the 30s here, and I just think the Jags are going to fight this game. There is no science. I'm going over the 45. Kind of want to bet it, but you just can't with the state of this Jags offense right now. Next game, we got my Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. Over, under, 43.5 over. I think this is a one-possession game. I think it's a close game the whole way through. And when those games get to the fourth quarter, they just find a way to go over. And I get the fundamentals. You look at this Flores defense, and it's been almost impregnable the first 3 weeks of the year. And you look at a Packers defense without Joe Barry that is in evolution. Getting rid of Barry was obviously a good move, and it's only going to help the Packers. But with Jordan Love back, it seems like he's back. That's going to add some firepower to a Packers offense that honestly didn't struggle the 2 weeks without him. And I just think Sam Darnold is playing with a bunch of confidence and verb right now that we just can't seem to quantify. I'm going over the 43.5. Like, I get the fundamentals point to under with the way Flores is going, but both offensive coaches have been coaching and dipping into their bag. I'm going over. Next game, we got the Cincinnati Bengals at Carolina Panthers. Over, under, 47. I'm going over. I like the Panthers defense more than most people. But I also like this Panthers offensive line more than most people. And I think they're going to be able to push the Cincinnati front back. And if you give the Red Rifle a running game, I think there's enough targets, even with Thielen out, Deontay Johnson, etc. I think there's enough targets for him to move a ball against the wounded Cincinnati defense. Speaking of someone that's wounded, look at Zach Taylor, look at Joe Burrow. We're hearing about meetings. When you hear the players-only meetings, when you hear heart-to-hearts, that's when you know it's an Alamo situation. And where has T. Higgins been? We saw him last game. He only had 3 catches, and that's simply not enough help for Jamar Chase. I think the Bengals respond offensively, but I don't think the Panthers are going to go down without a fight. I'm going over the 47. I really like this one. It's just a bit high. Like, if this was lower at like 45, I might have to jump on it. Next game, we got the Los Angeles Rams. Stafford at the Chicago Bears. Over, under, 41. Over. I'm curious to see this game. I felt like Caleb was a little bit better against the Colts, even though there was a lot of turnover-worthy plays that could have made it even worse. But I'm worried about the Bears schematically on offense. That's why I'm not making this a money pick. And listen, I do think the Chicago defensive line is their Achilles heel. But, there are 3-4 starters who are going to miss this game for the Rams offensive line. With all that being said, I see both teams getting into the 20s. I'm going over, but I'm just giving you the reasons why it's not a money pick. Next game, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. Hurts at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Over, under, 44. I'm going with a surprise over. Now, am I worried about some of these injuries going into the game with the Philadelphia Eagles? We're looking at Lane Johnson. We're looking at A.J. Brown questionable. We're looking at Devontae Smith with a concussion. Like, these are big injuries. I don't know how many of them are going to play. I'm assuming A.J. Brown plays, and I'm assuming Lane Johnson plays. So factor that into the science. And yes, I did say there was going to be a Baker Mayfield regression, but I also think there'll be points in this game. And the Philadelphia Eagles secondary responded last week, but a lot of it was because Jordan Davis was bull rushing Cesar Ruiz 6 yards back every time Carr stepped back to pass. I'm worried about this Bucs defensive line. They got pushed back by the Broncos. I think the Eagles are able to run it, and I think the Bucs are going to be a dance partner. Give me the over 44. Next game, we got the Cleveland Browns at the Las Vegas Raiders. Over, under 37. Money, money, money. Money, borderline. Borderline under. We money picked last week the under on the Browns game, and I'm not seeing anything different. And I got to tell you guys, after watching that Giants film, I'm not sure Deshaun Watson's the biggest issue with this offense. I'm looking at an offensive line that's without Wyatt Teller. We don't know if Willis is going to play. We don't know if Conklin's going to be back. Pochik is even banged up at center. It just feels like this offensive line is in complete regression mode, and the Browns just aren't getting a lot of offensive line push. I don't know what is going on. They're not running the ball. And I'm looking at this Raiders team on offense, and I think they're going to try to run the ball. But like I told you, fade Minshew. Like, don't fall for what Shane Steichen was able to do with him. Just give Shane Steichen his flowers and then move back on and move out of Gardner Minshew. Think Gardner Minshew is a huge liability. I'm going under, make it a damn money pick. And this Browns defense can still ball, man. Like, even with Garrett having that foot problem, this Browns defense can still ball. I'm going under the 37. It's a bit low, but you got to do what you got to do. Next game, we got the Washington No-Names at the Arizona Cardinals. Over, under 50.5. I'm going under. And it's a surprise under. After you saw what Jaden Daniels put forth on Monday night, it's hard to go under. But I also think this Arizona defense has been sneaky underrated. Kyler didn't do much in that game against the Lions. And that Arizona defense was put in bad situation after bad situation, and they responded. That's why I like the under. I just think this Arizona defense is slowly getting better. They don't have a lot of stars, but they play well as a unit, and John Gannon is a good coach. You do worry about this Commanders secondary when you pick the under in their games because, you know, they can't cover a lick. But Kyler Murray isn't exactly lighting it up. I'm going under the 50.5. Next game, we got the New England Patriots at the San Francisco 49ers. Over, under 40.5. Over. Sneaky over here. Now, listen, man, I think this 49ers offense is going to have themselves a field day. Now, I think the Patriots are well coached on defense, and I think they have good players, but their offense continuously puts them in bad situations, and this 49ers defense has to respond. At a certain point, when you go 3-and-out, when you don't control time of possession, your defense will wear down no matter how good it is, and I don't think this Patriots defense is as good as the public thinks. Also, this has a situation to turn into, how can I say this, a blowout, boat race, garbage time. What happens in garbage time? The losing team throws up cheap points. I'm going over the 40.5. Next game, we got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers. Over, under 39.5. I'm going over. Now, this is surprising. Like, firstly, listen, all conventional wisdom says this. Harbaugh is gonna just kind of punt this week. You got Herbert banged up. You got Joe out banged up. You got Slater banged up at the left tackle. You got Bosa banged up. You got Derwin James suspended. And then they got their bye week coming up and they can get healthy. But we're seeing little tea leaves that Herbert will play. And I have to give some credit to the Chargers team that we saw on the field against the Steelers. I felt like their play calling was excellent. I felt like their offensive line used angles really well and used the play action well. And I think this is the Chiefs team in progress. So if Herbert's out there, I like the over. And I still think this Chargers secondary is weak, even though Derwin James is playing the best football of his career. But like I said, he's not going to be out there, and Mahomes is Mahomes. I'm going over. I think if Herbert's out there, both teams get to the 20s. Next game, we got the Buffalo Bills at the Baltimore Ravens. Over, under 46.5. I'm going over. But I want your feedback on this. I like the over. I find it sexy, but also I don't know if I can get a read on the game flow. Is this Bills team going to put 30 up on everyone? I mean, Josh Allen is just playing completely inspired football right now. And one thing I noticed about this Ravens defense, I don't want to be too harsh, but it does seem like they've taken a step back. You know, maybe they're missing Patrick Queen. We've seen how immense he's been with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe they're missing McDonald, the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what it is, but there does feel like a little bit of verb and Riz missing from this Ravens defense. I'm going to go over, and we saw the Ravens offense do what we thought they would do. Give the fucking ball to King Henry, and that's what needs to be done. And I think that's where you attack the Bills. Like, their secondary's playing good. How are they playing good? I don't know. I don't. I wish someone gave me the answer. Schematically, they've been good. Emotionally, they've been good. And when you got Rousseau and Von Miller, you can't sleep on it, but that's the recipe. You have to go right up the gut and pound them. They are small at linebacker. They are small at defensive tackle. And that's what I think the Ravens do. I'm going over the 46.5. Next game, Monday Night Football. We got the Seattle Seahawks at the Detroit Lions. Over, under 46.5. Money, money, money. Money. Listen, I love the over in this. I think we saw last week that the Lions are going to get back to what they do best. Get that offensive line, get that top 5 offensive line going forward in a physical, ruthless manner, and use the run to set up the pass. We've been seeing too much Goff. And when Goff is at his best, their play action, I want to see Jameson Williams involved, and we saw him more involved against the Cardinals. So I'm happy with that. I also think the Seahawks defense is soft in the front 7. I think you can run it on them. And was I encouraged by what I saw out of the Lions last week? Absolutely. I was encouraged by what I saw of the Lions defense, but I still think if Geno Smith plays with a little bit of confidence, this has a chance to turn into a shootout. This Lions secondary is young. I think they're good. Maybe I'm wrong. People say I'm wrong on it, but it is a work in progress. Let's be honest about it. If Seattle can protect Geno Smith, this is definitely going over. And I skipped over a game, and I actually skipped over a money pick. Broncos at Jets, over, under 39.5, borderline money pick. This is a borderline. My bad for skipping over it. It's important. Now, I told you guys Rodgers wasn't old, and he's going to play well. Like, I'm damn sure about that, and I think he's going to continue playing well. But I also want to give this Broncos defense a lot of credit. These first 3 weeks, against Tampa, they weren't put in bad positions, but the first 2 weeks they were put in bad position after bad position, and they were resilient. And I think they will be. But I want to get into this Broncos offense. I'm worried about them against the Jets. And one thing I liked out of the Jets against the Patriots was we saw more blitzing. We never saw a lot of blitzing from the Jets defense last year. And that's one thing they should do more when you got a secondary with Reed, Gardner. There's a lot of good players in that secondary. So, man, I got this going under. It's a borderline money pick. 39.5 is a little bit low, but let's get this money. Slam the like button. I appreciate you guys. Let me know what you think of this new thumbnail. Let's see if we can make this a thing.